Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today's topic is strategies for protein sequence identification. Previously, we have talked about how we can elucidate structure, but now we have to know like how what the actual protein sequence is. Like what are the amino acid residues within the sequence? So we will be discussing about different strategies that will be applied to sequence a protein, just like to sequence a DNA or to sequence an RNA. So to sequence a DNA, we have different sequencing tools. And you will be like dealing with them in your recombinant DNA technology course. But here we will be talking about protein sequence identification, how to sequence actually a protein. Um, uh, like going into the detail, prior to that, we have few chemicals we have to know about them because they will be gonna used in like sequencing, protein sequencing. And this method is actually chemical degradation, like sequencing by chemical degradation. So this is actually a chemical, this is the chemical structure of ninhydrin. So this is the ninhydrin, and this is a typical structure of an amino acid. So this is amino acid, the alpha carbon, and it will have 4 different groups. We have already talked about that, like the carboxyl group, the amino group, the alkyl group, or residual group, and the hydrogen, like the proton. So like this will react with the ninhydrin, and this will like the bond will break, and like the ninhydrin, and like this will it will degrade and it will cleave this bond. And after, so ninhydrin can react with amino acids, with any of the amino acid. This alkyl group doesn't matter in that case. So chemical structure of this is furescamine, and furescamine or furescamine. So it also reacts with the primary amine group of the amino acid as shown. But here in these two chemicals, if the amino acid is modified, like if that is modified some way, so this reaction may not takes place. So about the ninhydrin and this furescamine. So one of these two chemicals can be used to sequence the proteins, and this method will be chemical degradation method. We actually degrade the amino acid, and we gonna go for sequencing, and we could gonna go for the identification of that specific amino acid that has been degraded. So to start with, complete hydrolysis allows protein sequences to be inferred from the content of the resulting amino acid pool. So we can hydrolyze the amino acid. We can hydrolyze the protein sequence. If we have a protein sequence, so we can hydrolyze that the peptides sequence, and once we hydrolyze that, we can get the individual residues, we can get the individual amino acids, and now we can get actually the pool of amino acid. Now we have, instead of the peptide, we have amino acids in the resulting amino acids. So we can get a pool of amino acids. So protein can be completely broken down into their constituent amino acids by boiling in highly concentrated hydrochloric acid for 24 to 72 hours. So if we boil the proteins in some concentrated hydrochloric acid, if we boil the proteins for 24 to 72 degrees centigrade, the total protein, the whole protein will be converted into constituent amino acids. So now we can get the amino acid, all the amino acid within that protein. So all of the peptide bonds will be hydrolyzed by through this concentrated hydrochloric acid within 24 to 72 hours. And after that, the amino acid can then be labeled with an agent such as ninhydrin. So it can be labeled with ninhydrin or furescamine and separated by HPLC. So now ninhydrin or furescamine can be added and that will that will bind with that will react with the amino acid, the individual amino acid, and then can be separated by high performance liquid chromatography. So we first we have to hydrolyze the protein, then we have to react with the ninhydrin, and third is we have to run that reaction, run that the product onto the HPLC, and then we can detect as they elute from the column. So through the column, we can elute the product using a panel of standard amino acid as reference. So we will get peaks and we will get different peaks. And now how we will know that they are this is calibration, and this is the we will know that this peak corresponds to valine. So in our sample, if we have a sample and we have this peak, so that will mean this is the valine. If we have isoleucine, so it will correspond to this peak. So and same is the case with, so we have a standard, and with this standard we will compare the whole product onto the HPLC, and this through these peaks the amino acids will be identified. And after that, the acid and polar amino acid are eluted first. So within the HPLC, now keep in mind that the polar or acidic amino acids, they will be eluted first. So they will move faster, and they will be eluted prior to the others. So aspartic acid, threonine, serine, glutamic acid. So all these amino acids, they will elute first, and the basic amino acid they will follow. And the basic amino acid like lysine, histidine, arginine, so they will follow, and the basic or the acidic or polar will move faster. They will move fast, and then they will be followed by basic amino acid. In each case, the height of the absorption peak is proportional to the relative abundance of the amino acid in the sample. So keep in mind, so how we will know how much aspartic acid is there in a sample, or how much threonine is there in a sample, or how much histidine is there in a sample. So that will be what will determine that the height of the peak. So if we have a peak like this, and another peak is like this, and another peak is like this, so this will mean the height of the peak, the difference in the height of the peak will determine the amount of the amino acid. So it will have 3 times more amino acid than this, and this will be having 1 time amino acid. So if that is 3 amino acid, this will be 6 amino acid, this will be 9 amino acid. So this is how the amino acids could be determined. So this is isoleucine. So isoleucine is I say 9 amino acids, 9 isoleucines are there within a protein, and 3 arginines are there in a specific amino protein, and this is valine. So valine, 6 valines are there were there in a protein that has been degraded and then was labeled with ninhydrin and then was separated by HPLC, and that give rise to these peaks. So that's how we determine the content of a specific amino acid within a sample. And after that, although this method reveals the amino acid composition, so this will only give us amino acid composition, the number of amino acid within a specific protein. It does not indicate the sequence, because all the peptide bonds in the protein are broken, so consecutive residues cannot be identified. So we are more interested in the consecutive amino acid. We need to know the threonine, followed by tyrosine, followed by arginine, and followed by isoleucine. We actually want to know the sequence, this is number 1 amino acid, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. But in this method, in the hydrolysis method, only we get the number of each amino acid. We do not know the sequence of the sequence in which these residues will be. So so this is one of the limitation. This whole technique only gives us amino acid composition, and that's it. Who will explain?
मैं करूं?
जी फरवा, इकरा, इसके बाद आपने करना।
सर इसमें हमने प्रोटीन के जो सीक्वेंसेस हैं उनकी केमिकल डिग्रेडेशन के थ्रू हमने जो है वो डिटर्मिनेशन करनी है। इसके लिए जरूरी है कि जो हमारा प्रोटीन सीक्वेंस है उसको हम सबसे पहले कंप्लीटली हाइड्रोलाइज करें। हाइड्रोलाइज करेंगे हम उसको यूज करते हुए हाइड्रोक्लोरिक एसिड फॉर 24 to 72 आवर्स हम उसको यानी कि हाइड्रोक्लोरिक एसिड यूज करेंगे और उस कंप्लीट जो चेन है, जो पॉलीपेप्टाइड चेन है प्रोटीन की, उसकी ब्रेक डाउन करेंगे और वो अमाइनो एसिड्स में ब्रेक डाउन हो जाएगी उसकी। उसके बाद क्या होगा, जो हमारे पास जो अमाइनो एसिड्स आएंगे उनको हम लेबल करेंगे विद निन हाइड्रीन या फिर किसी भी फ्लोरस यानी कि हम उसको निन हाइड्रीन के साथ उसको बाइंड करेंगे, लेबल करेंगे और उसके बाद हम उसकी क्रोमेटोग्राफी जो HPLC है उसके ऊपर हम उसको सेपरेट करवाएंगे। सेपरेट करने के बाद जो भी कॉलम से जब एल्यूसिडेट होंगे एल्यूट होंगे अमाइनो एसिड्स, ठीक है, फिर उनको डिटेक्ट करेंगे, उसका कंपैरिजन करते हुए विद द रेफरेंस स्टैंडर्ड अमाइनो एसिड्स एज अ रेफरेंस यूज करेंगे। इसके दौरान क्या होगा, क्रोमेटोग्राफी के दौरान क्या होगा, जो एसिडिक और पोलर अमाइनो एसिड्स होंगे वो पहले बाहर आ जाएंगे, जबकि जो बेसिक अमाइनो एसिड्स होंगे वो बाद में आउट होंगे वहां से, ठीक है। और ये इसके दौरान जो हमारे पास जो पीक आएगी, वो पीक की हाइट जो अब हमें शो करवाती है कि कौन से अमाइनो एसिड्स की अमाउंट जो है वो ज्यादा है, और पीक की जो जितनी लो होगी वो बताती है कि कौन से अमाइनो एसिड्स की जो नंबर्स हैं वो कम है। यहाँ पे हम क्या होगा कि इस मेथड में कहता है कि जो अमाइनो एसिड्स की जो कंपोजिशन है, प्रोटीन के अमाइनो एसिड्स की कंपोजिशन सिर्फ वही रिवील होती है, इसके अंदर हमारा जो सीक्वेंस होता है वो नहीं होता यहाँ पे इंडिकेट, क्योंकि सारे जो अमाइनो एसिड्स होते हैं जो प्रोटीन के अंदर जो जो बाइंड हुए होते हैं उनकी ब्रेक डाउन हो जाती है।
Exactly. So moving further. So this is actually now another chemical. This is actually phenyl isothiocyanate. So phenyl isothiocyanate is also important, and it has an aromatic group, and that is the NCNS. So this phenyl group, so phenyl isothiocyanate. So this is important in a way that it gives rise, it is used in Edmond degradation. Edmond is actually a scientist, and this scientist, he actually like discover, and he like put forward this method to sequence a protein, specifically the N terminus of a protein sequence. So now we are talking about how to sequence, not we are not talking about to degrade the whole protein into amino acids. So here, these are the amino acids. So different, the peptide, the whole peptide, and this whole peptide. So the N-terminus amino acid will react with the phenyl isothiocyanate. It will react with that, with the amino group, and here in acidic conditions, like mild acidic condition, this peptide bond will break, and now this will cleaves apart, and this will bind with this phenyl isothiocyanate. So it will bind there, and this like this amino acid will be released. Now this phenyl isothiocyanate now the next cycle will start. Now the next amino acid will now react with the phenyl isothiocyanate, and that will cleave apart, and the third one and the fourth one, and every of these amino acids, they will be sequenced along with like in every step. So like one of the amino acid when is cleaved, so that will be sequenced, that will be identified. After that, the next cycle amino acid, and in the third and in the fourth, and so on and forth. So the N-terminal amino acid of the peptide is derivatized with the phenyl isothiocyanate, red shown in red color. So then under acidic conditions, the adjacent peptide bond, this adjacent peptide bond is cleaved, and the terminal amino acid, this terminal amino acid is released as a cyclic derivative, and this is a cyclic derivative, and that can be identified by HPLC. So this is a cyclic derivative that will bind there. So that is a cyclic derivative, and that could be determined by HPLC. So the peptide is now one residue. This peptide is now one residue shorter, and the cycles begins again, and that's it. This is actually the Edman degradation method. Who will explain?
Yes sir, मैं करता हूँ.
Okay, उमर आप कर दें.
Yes sir. सर एडमंड डिग्रेडेशन में सर जो हमारे पास मतलब इसमें बताया गया है कि हमारे पास एक कंपाउंड है फिनाइल आइसोथायोसाइनेट. ठीक है, मतलब ये एडमंड डिग्रेडेशन में क्रूशियल रोल प्ले कर रहा है. वो इस तरह से कि एडमंड डिग्रेडेशन में हमारे पास एन टर्मिनल मतलब होती है, डिग्रेडेशन होती है जो नाइट्रोजन साइड है. वहां से हमारे पास जो एडजेसेंट अमीनो एसिड है ये उसके साथ जाके अटैच करेगा. ठीक है, उसके बाद जब एसिडिक कंडीशंस होती हैं, मतलब एसिडिक कंडीशन में बैलेंस अप डाउन होता है, तो उसकी वजह से क्लीवेज होती है टर्मिनल अमीनो एसिड की, जिसकी वजह से हमारे पास वो रिलीज हो जाता है. उसके अलावा ये जो कॉम्बिनेशन बनता है, जो कॉम्प्लेक्स बनता है, ये साइक्लिक फॉर्म में आ जाता है. इसको HPLC आइडेंटिफाई करती है. उसके बाद ये दोबारा साइकिल रिपीट होता है इसी तरह से.
ठीक हो गया, ठीक है. Okay, so next to it is, so and when we do this sequencing with Edman degradation algorithms such as AA competent. So this is an online tool. This is online tool, and this tool is used can predict the protein sequences on the basis of amino acid composition. So prior to this one, like we have amino acid composition. So how we could know actually which protein is this? Like we get to know from this degradation. Like we get to know we have 13 valines, we have like 20 isoleucine and 25 tyrosine and 30 like 03 tryptophan and so on. So we got the composition of a protein, but still we don't know actually what the protein is. We have only the composition of the protein, the composition of different amino acid within a single protein. So we have now online tool, for instance, this AA competent. So this AA competent can predict protein sequences on the basis of amino acid composition. We will only give the amino acid composition to this tool, and this tool, this online tool, will search the amino acid composition within the protein sequence database, and from that database it will give us the entries. Like it will say okay, the corresponding protein to which your your query is, like you have different amino acid composition, and those amino acid composition is present in the same ratio within that very specific protein. So this will, and that will give a similar composition profile. So say for instance this give us an insulin protein. So this will say this is the composition that you have given is correspond to insulin protein. So that's how this like algorithm and this tool helps us to identify our protein of interest. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, and such correlative search methods are only useful when there are significant existing sequence data and where a pure protein is available. So they have been most widely used in the microbial proteome projects. So like we need to know, like we need to have like prior existing data. If there is data available, like we give like the composition, and if that composition is available for certain protein, if that composition is not available, this whole practice will not work. So this will work only for already known proteins. Say for instance we identify a new protein and that new protein composition is not previously available, so it will not give rise to any like any clue for that protein. So and the second thing is we have to have a pure protein to analyze and for the chemical degradation. So these two limitations are there. We need to have pure protein, we need to have pre-existing data. So and protein identification, so now we have an alternate, and that is protein identification by mass spectrometry, like that is MS. So through MS, through mass spectrometry this is another approach that involves correlative searching. So through correlative searching, like we relate the same thing, but it can also determine protein sequences de novo without any reference to known sequence. In mass spectrometry, we can determine protein sequence without any known reference. Here we need to have some reference. Here we don't need to have reference. Through chemical degradation, we will need reference, and through MS we can do de novo. And next to it is complete hydrolysis. If we do complete hydrolysis experiments, so that do not allow de novo searching, because we need to have some database to which it needs to correspond. The composition needs to correspond to some prior resolved protein. So, but further evidence for the protein identification can be obtained by taking into account properties such as apparent molecular mass, isoelectric point, or by derivatizing the N and C terminus amino acid, allowing the first and last residue to be identified positively. So here, one thing, we need to know, even though we get the amino acid, so the protein name from the database, but still we are confused. We are not fully sure that our protein is, say for instance, the software and the tool give us that is insulin, it's insulin, but we are still not sure either it is insulin or some other protein, because the probability is that some other protein may have the same composition of the amino acid. So we need to annotate our protein. We need to have some more information about our own protein and the protein that the database has given us. That is, we need to compare the molecular mass of our protein with the molecular mass that the database has given. Similarly, we need to compare the PI of our protein with the PI of the protein that the database has given. And also, we can derivatize the N-terminus and C-terminus amino acid through Edman degradation. So we can do this practice for our protein as well. So the N-terminus amino acids can be determined with this Edman sequencing. So this N-terminus amino acid, once it is determined, we need to compare the N-terminus amino acids of the protein with the protein that the database has given to us, and that's it. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and who will explain?
Last point,
Yes, sir.
Last point.
Okay, अक्सा कोई एक्सप्लेन कर देगा तो जी कोई एक्सप्लेन कर देगा तो ये क्लियर हो जाएगा जी।
मैं करता हूँ।
अक्सा आप कर दें, उमर आप एक दफा कर चुके हैं ना, सो
इसमें ये बताया हुआ है कि जो ए कॉम्पिडेंट एल्गोरिथम हम यूज करते हैं प्रोटीन, इससे ये क्या होता है कि हम प्रोटीन का सीक्वेंस देख सकते हैं किस तरीके से कि जो डेटाबेस में ऑलरेडी प्रोटीन मौजूद है उसकी कंपोजिशन को देखते हुए जो कंपोजिशन हमारे पास आई है उसे कंपेयर करके ए कॉम्पिडेंट हमें जो है वो इंफॉर्मेशन दे सकता है प्रोटीन के सीक्वेंस की। ठीक है, उसके बाद सेकंड पॉइंट ये है कि ये मेथड जो है तभी यूजफुल होते हैं जब हमारे पास या तो पहले से एक तो प्योर प्रोटीन अवेलेबल हो और ऑलरेडी हमारे पास उसका सीक्वेंस मौजूद हो, ठीक है, डेटाबेस में, और ये माइक्रोबियल प्रोटियोम प्रोजेक्ट के लिए जो है वो यूज किया जाता है। उसके बाद थर्ड पॉइंट है कि मैस स्पेक्ट्रोमेट्री से भी हम प्रोटीन की आइडेंटिफिकेशन कर सकते हैं, ये एक अनदर अप्रोच है। ठीक है, उसके अलावा इसमें यह है कि इसमें डिनोवो इसे हम इसमें सॉरी सर, इसमें रेफरेंस प्रोटीन की जरूरत नहीं होती, जिस तरह हम ए कॉम्पोनेंट में देख रहे हैं, लेकिन इसमें इसकी जरूरत नहीं होगी। फिर उसके बाद लास्ट पॉइंट ये है कि कंप्लीट हाइड्रोलिसिस एक्सपेरिमेंट सर, इसमें यह है कि जब हमने कंप्लीट हाइड्रोलिसिस करवानी होती है, जो स्टार्ट पे हमने मेथड पढ़ा है कि कंप्लीट हाइड्रोलिसिस हो जाती है प्रोटीन की, उससे हमें सीक्वेंस का पता नहीं चलता, लेकिन उससे फिर हमें मॉलिक्यूलर मास और आइसोइलेक्ट्रिक पॉइंट का पता चल सकता है, जिसके हम जो हमारे पास ऑलरेडी मौजूद डाटा है उसे कंपेयर करके पता कर सकते हैं, मतलब थोड़े बहुत क्लू हासिल कर सकते हैं कि ये कौन सी प्रोटीन हो सकती है। और उसके अलावा जो सी टर्मिनल और एन टर्मिनल अमाइनो एसिड है जो हमने इसमें एडमंड डिग्रेडेशन में रिमूव किए हैं, उसको हम डेरिवेटाइज कर सकते हैं, उनके डेरिवेटिव्स बना के कंपेयर कर सकते हैं सर इस पॉइंट की मुझे यही समझ लगी है, इसकी मुझे खुद इतनी क्लियर नहीं हुई डेरिवेटाइजिंग की।
सर मैं क्लियर करूँ ये वाला पॉइंट?
उमर कोई और कर देगा तो उसके बाद
Okay,
who
sir.
will explain, who will explain next, who will explain? मरियम, मरियम आपको समझ आई है?
नो सर, लास्ट वाला मुझे भी नहीं आया।
हाँ, जितनी समझ आपको आई है वो बताएं, क्योंकि कुछ चीजें मिसिंग हैं, सो आई नीड टू लाइक हैव सम। ओके, इनायतुल्लाह इज देयर, ऑन
हाँ
रजा
सर,
इज
मैं
देयर,
बताता
ठीक
हूँ।
है, ऑन, जी जी ऑन।
यस
हाँ
सर।
सर, इस लास्ट लास्ट पॉइंट में बताया गया है, मतलब ये ऊपर जो हमारे पास डाटा अवेलेबल है, इसके अलावा भी हमें जो प्रोटीन का जो अपेरेंट मॉलिक्यूलर वेट है, हम उसको आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हैं। उसके साथ साथ उसका जो पीआई होता है वो कर सकते हैं, और उसका एन और सी टर्मिनल के ऊपर जो अमाइनो एसिड है, जैसे कि हमने पीछे भी उमर ने बताया था, जिस तरह से उसको आइडेंटिफाई किया जाता है। तो ये भी 3 चीजें और फर्दर ऐड हो सकती हैं, जिसको हमारे प्रोटीन की सीक्वेंसिंग के लिए।
जी जी एग्जैक्टली, उस अभी देख लें इसको। सो इनिशियली where we have started, like we get the composition of different amino acid, we get the composition of like valine is 13 and so on. And we get only the composition of that protein. What we will do, we will like check that amino acid composition in AA competent. So we will check that in this online tool, and after checking that, it will like say, for instance, it says to us that our protein is it replies that our protein is insulin. So, but again, we are not sure like our protein is insulin or not. So like it confuses us, because maybe it may not be insulin. Maybe like there are some other protein with having the same composition. Maybe like this is like we check and we have some other protein with the same composition, or maybe it is a new protein and with the same composition as that of insulin. So in that case, to make sure, like we need to have some other strategies. Like what we will do, we will go for this protein, and like we will check this protein. We will check this protein, and now we have this protein in a sample. Like we have the sample of this protein, for which we have degraded. So we have the sample, and what we will do, we will check the like the pi of this protein, isoelectric point of this protein. Similarly, we have to know some other properties. We also will go for Adamant degradation, and in Adamant degradation actually gives us the starting few amino acid within this protein. Say for instance, it says that like the starting amino acid is like, first one is methionine, the second one is tyrosine, the third one is threonine, the fourth one is valine, the fifth one is like arginine, the sixth one is also arginine, and that's it. So we did Adamant degradation, and it gives only this 6 residues, the starting 6 residues. And this is what we have done with, like this is we have done with Adamant degradation. Now we will cross check, like either the insulin has the same first 6 amino acids or not. So we will check that either these 6 amino acids are there in insulin or not. Similarly, the pi of this unknown protein is same with the insulin or not. So we will check all these things, and after checking all these things, if the and the molecular mass of this protein, so molecular weight of this protein, we will compare. We will actually, what we will do, we will run this protein, the unknown protein, on the gel. So we will get to know the molecular mass of the protein. So if that is like here, and we will run the insulin as well, both will have the same sizes. So both will have the same sizes. We will actually also run that in isoelectric focusing experiment, like if that is in the 2D gel electrophoresis. So through isoelectric focusing, so these two proteins may correspond to the same level, so that they will have the same position. So if that is having these two proteins have the same position, that will mean like most probably our protein is actually insulin. Otherwise, if they differ, if this differ from insulin, so that means AA competent didn't give us the like the required protein. We have to cross check. This is how we have to cross check again and again with certain annotation. We have to know like certain things for our protein, and that we need to match with the query with the product or with the clue that this AA competent has given to us. Am I clear or not?
Yes, sir.
क्लियर हो गया?
Yes,
जी,
sir.
on रजा जी.
सर मैथ स्पेक्ट्रोमेट्री से तो हम जैसे उसका प्रोटीन का जो मैथ होगा वो आइडेंटिफाई करेंगे, तो उसको लेडर के साथ कंपेयर करके बता देंगे कि इस प्रोटीन के साथ इसकी रेलेवेंस है, मतलब मैथ्स इसको उनके ना कंपेयर करके. बट हमें ये किस तरह से पता चलेगा कि प्रोटीन का एक्चुअल सीक्वेंस क्या है, आइदर इट इज अ ब्रांच और नॉन ब्रांच प्रोटीन और लीनियर प्रोटीन, तो ये तो फिर भी स्टिल कंफ्यूजन रहेगी हमारे पास.
नहीं, mass spectrometry is a whole new procedure. Mass spectrometry जो है mass to charge ratio के बेस पे करेगा, and this is a whole new procedure. We will be having a whole lecture for this. So mass spectrometry की हम बात नहीं कर रहे, और mass spectrometry ने हमें क्या करना है, de novo तरीके से हमें पूरे प्रोटीन का सीक्वेंस बता देना है. Like in for now, we are just talking about like how to identify a protein based on the composition. So we will first go for AA competent. We will first degrade the protein. Then we will go for AA competent, and then we need to have some additional information. And for those additional information, like we will have to have the molecular mass. And for molecular mass, how we will identify the molecular mass? Just do SDS page, or just do polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis means page. So we will run that on page, and it will give us the molecular size of our unknown protein. Similarly, we will run insulin on like it gives insulin, so we will run that as well. So that will be having the same position on the gel. Similarly, when we have to know the isoelectric point, so we will have to run that in the electric field. And like in the electric field, based on the the isoelectric point, the two proteins will separate, and in that case it needs to have the same position with the with the insulin. So if they correspond to each other, that will mean our protein, our unknown protein, is actually insulin and not another protein. And similarly, these are 2 points. Similarly, we also need to reconfirm that with the ADAMAN sequencing as well. So the N-terminal amino acids will need to be determined through ADAMAN sequencing. So first few amino acids will be identified with ADAMAN sequencing or with ADAMAN degradation, and we need to compare that our sample in the that is in the vial with the insulin that has, and we already know the sequence of insulin that is online available. So we need to have the ADAMAN degradation. It will give us first few residues, and we will compare that with the first few residues of insulin, and we got to know either our protein is cross-checked and that is true insulin or not. Am I clear or not?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Clear.
That's great. That's great. अक्सर समझ आ गई है पूरी क्लास को?
जी सर, आ गई है.
ठीक है. मरियम, इज क्लियर?
जी सर.
ठीक है. और okay. So moving further, so for instance, the N-terminal amino acid can be modified by dibenzyl chloride or 9-fluorophlorenyl methyl chloroformate. These two chemicals, that either of the two chemicals can be used, resulting in a predictable shift in the position of the corresponding fraction. So this N-terminal amino acid, so that can be modified with one of these two chemicals. And what will happen? So this will like if we have if we have a peak, and these peaks, like we have a peak and we have these peaks, and somehow like when this is the N-terminus amino acid is reacted with this chemical, so a peak shift will occur. So if that is at 1300 position, so this may shift from this to this region, like this may shift to 1400 position. So due to this position, it can be identified. So this is how the peaks can be identified, and this is totally like different field. So now, but for our understanding, the peak shift actually shows us the position of the corresponding fraction. And even with terminal residue identification, however, it may be difficult to identify protein with confidence. So it means even though we get to know the N-terminus amino acids and like the N-terminus amino acid in all these information, even then we are like not sure like our protein is either insulin or not. I'm saying insulin again and again because this is easy to understand. So like still we have in mind that maybe our protein is a new protein and not like insulin, but there are certain features that are similar to insulin, like insulin is a human protein, and we have identified a protein in an insect, and we say that how come insulin expressed in an insect? So we have still confusion, even though the N-terminus amino acid of insulin and our protein from the insect is same, even though the PI, the isoelectric point of our protein and insulin is same, even though the molecular weight and the molecular weight of our protein and amino acid of insulin is same, but still we cannot say that with that confidence that like we have confusion, still we have confusions. So annotations are much more reliable if at least some sections of contiguous sequence can be determined directly, and this is prerequisite for the de novo sequencing of protein. So we need to annotate our protein, and that is more reliable. So how we can do annotation, we will be discussing that in the coming slide, but for now we need to annotate, and that is the start and the prerequisite of de novo sequencing, the sequencing that do not require any prior information of the protein. Like we don't need to have the protein in the database. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Gee, and who will explain?
सर मैं करूं?
This is Ikra. जी Ikra.
सर इसके अंदर उन्होंने बताया है पहले कि हम लोगों ने एक एग्जांपल लिया अपने पिछले पॉइंट की कि अगर हम लोगों ने किसी एन टर्मिनल अमाइनो एसिड को मॉडिफाई कर भी लिया है इन केमिकल्स को यूज करते हुए डेंसाइल क्लोराइड या एन फ्लोरिनाइल मिथाइल क्लोरोफॉर्मेट, तो उसके रिजल्ट के अंदर क्या होगा, वो शिफ्ट हो जाएगी उस कॉरस्पॉन्डिंग फ्रैक्शन की पोजीशन, उसे हम प्रेडिक्ट कर सकते हैं। सेकंड पॉइंट के अंदर उन्होंने एक्सप्लेन किया अगर हम लोगों ने टर्मिनल रेजिड्यू को आइडेंटिफाई कर भी लिया है, उसके बावजूद हमें कंफ्यूजन रहेगी कि ये प्रोटीन आइडेंटिफाई हमने सही किया या नहीं की, उसके लिए हमारे पास एनोटेशन होती हैं वो ज़्यादा रिलायबल होती हैं, और क्योंकि इसके अंदर जो सम सेक्शंस होते हैं वो सीक्वेंस के हम लोग उन्हें डायरेक्टली डिटरमिन कर सकते हैं, और इसके लिए हमें ये प्रीरिक्विजिट होता है de novo सीक्वेंसिंग के लिए, जो कि जिसके अंदर हम लोग नॉन रेफरेंसेस चाहिए होते हैं, नॉन रेफरेंस सीक्वेंस चाहिए होती है।
ठीक हो गया. So we need to annotate our sequence now. So how we can annotate sequence? Let's check that out. So this is actually like we need to digest our protein with different enzyme, with different proteases. So one of the enzyme is trypsin. So this trypsin And the other enzyme here that has been used is GLU-C, and that is in alkaline condition. Digestion of our protein with GLU-C in alkaline conditions. And here the digestion of our protein with trypsin. So what we will do, so we will be having our protein in a while, and we will digest that with the trypsin, and we have another while, and we have to digest that with the like GLU-C. So we have digest our protein with these two enzymes, and now we will run these two enzymes onto a gel. So we will be having 3 bands here. We will be having 2 bands, and and after that we need to align the 2 sequences, and we will get the sequence like here. So say for instance, like for clarity, we need to have the sequence has been given. Otherwise we will only know the position where the trypsin has digested the protein. Here trypsin has digested at did digestion at lysine and the arginine. So here it digested at this position, the digestion has been made at this position, and now this is leucine, aspartic acid, glutamic acid, tryptophan, glycine, valine, isoleucine, and lysine. So after lysine, it has cleaved the protein, and we have another sequence now. After lysine, it has done the cut here. So now we have 3 strands. We have 3 like peptides. Like when we digest with GLU-C in alkaline condition, it digests at glutamic acid, and with this glutamic acid, now we get 2 strands. We get 2 peptides. And how we will determine which will come first, because in the gel we will only get the bands. Like we will here we will get 3 bands, here we will get 2 bands. We will not know the sequence. So how we can determine the sequence, or how we can get an idea of the sequence? So if we write it like here, it is first, it will be the second one, and it will be the third one. And if we write this thing, so this is the glutamic acid here, and here it is the glutamic acid here, so it is aligned here, it is aligned here. So all of these, they align with one another, so they are aligned well with each other. So in this way we only get to know like where the sequence will correspond to each other. So this will be like this. So, and that's it. So next to it is like protein sequences can be obtained by Edman sequencing of overlapping peptides generated with the protease of different specificities. So we don't know actually here in this case which will be the first, which will be the second, which will be the third. So by overlapping digestion, like we will digest with this and we will digest with this, and we can then overlap these 2 sequences to get a sequence. So protein sequences can be obtained by Edman sequencing. So Edman of overlapping peptides generated. So now we get like these 3 peptides, and here we get this these 2 peptides. Each of these peptides will be proceeded for Edman sequencing. So it will be sequenced in Edman sequencing, it will be sequenced with Edman, it will be sequenced with Edman sequencing, and it will be sequenced with Edman sequencing again. This will be sequenced. Every of these sequences will be identified. The N-terminus amino acid will be identified. They are short sequences, therefore they could be easily identified. So like once identified, we can align them, and we can finally identify that our sequence is the first amino acid is leucine, aspartic acid, glutamine, and then is tryptophan, that is glycine, then is valine, that is isoleucine, then is lysine, and so on. So we get to know a single sequence, and we have reconfirmed that with the another digestion that has been given here. So this has been the starting few amino acid will be identified here. The other few amino acid will be identified here in Edman sequencing. These amino acid will be identified in Edman sequencing. This will be identified with Edman sequencing, and these amino acid will be identified in Edman sequencing, and so on. So and once we align them, we get to know the whole sequence. And if we could go further in the same thing. So trypsin, what trypsin is actually, this is a serine protease. Serine protease that cleaves peptide chains mainly at the carboxyl amino acids of lysine and arginine. So this is a serine protease that will cleave the amino acid at lysine and at arginine. So the two positions, like it will cleave if it get to have, if the peptide chain has lysine or arginine. So this trypsin will this would cleave that protein at that position and the carboxyl side of that position. So keep in mind, so that this is the N terminus of this amino acid, and this is the C terminus of this amino acid. So it will cleave this the C terminus of this amino acid. So it will cleave the carboxyl side of the amino acid, and those amino acids could be lysine, if that could be arginine. So that will be like the cleavage will be at the C terminus of the specific amino acid. So trypsin will cleave carboxyl side of the amino acids of lysine and or arginine, except with either is followed by proline. So if that is followed by a proline, because the side group of the proline is attached with the amino group, and therefore this cleavage, the lysine will not work, the trypsin will not work here in this lysine, which is followed by proline. So proline अगर इसको follow कर रहा है तो ये lysine जो है ये cleave नहीं होगा, trypsin इसको cleave नहीं करेगा. If that is not followed by the proline, this could be easily cleaved by trypsin, and that's it. So and what actually GLU-C is, that is an endoprotease that cleaves on the carboxyl end. Again, it cleaves at the carboxyl end of aspartic acid. So if there is aspartic acid or glutamic acid, so if there is aspartic acid or glutamic acid, so GLU-C will cleave at the carboxyl and that's it. Okay, who will explain?
सर मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है.
जी अक्सर.
सर इसमें जो हमने प्रोटीन्स लिए ये दोनों एक ही प्रोटीन है या सेपरेट प्रोटीन्स हैं?
This is the same protein.
ठीक है सर, सेम प्रोटीन को यानी हम डिफरेंट जो प्रोटीन्स
इसके हम करेंगे क्या, हमारे पास अगर एक वायल में प्रोटीन है, हमने इसके एलिकोट्स बनाने हैं, 2 एलिकोट्स बना लें, ठीक है
जी सर समझ आ गया, बाकी सिर्फ
समझ आ गया ना.
समझ
Exactly. So we will have 2 aliquots and we will digest this with this thing and that with this thing. ठीक है जी. Who will explain?
Yes sir, मैं कर देता हूँ.
हाँ जी उमर.
Yes sir, हमारे पास इसमें एनोटेशन का बताया, इसमें हम जो प्रोटीएसेस हैं वो यूज करेंगे, और ये प्रोटीएसेस के नाम मेंशन जैसे कि ट्रिप्सिन है और GLU-C है. और इसमें हमारे पास एक प्रोटीन है, हमारे पास सीक्वेंस है, हमारे पास लार्ज मतलब उसके अंदर मेनी अमीनो एसिड्स हैं, उनको हमने प्रोटीएसेस को यूज करते हुए स्मॉलर पीसेस में कन्वर्ट कर लेना है. ठीक है, इन्होंने हमारे पास जो ट्रिप्सिन है इसने स्पेसिफिकली कट प्रोड्यूस करना है पेप्टाइड्स में लाइसिन और आर्जिनिन के साथ, और जो हमारे पास GLU-C होता है इसने प्रोड्यूस करना है ग्लूटामाइन के साथ. और इनके अलावा एक और प्रोटीजेस होता है जिसका मतलब ट्रिप्सिन का जो कह लें कि हमारे पास सिनोनिम में यूज होगा कीमोट्रिप्सिन है, वो कट प्रोड्यूस करेगा एरोमेटिक अमीनो एसिड्स में. ये प्रोड्यूस कर रहा है ट्रिप्सिन इसके अंदर जो नॉर्मल अमीनो एसिड हैं जैसे कि लाइसिन हो गया और आर्जिनिन हो गया. और इसके इनको यूज करते हुए हमने इसको जो स्मॉल पीसीज हैं वो उनको अलाइनमेंट करनी है, इससे हमें सीक्वेंस का मतलब कंप्लीट सीक्वेंस है वो पता चल जाएगा. जो एडमंड डिग्रेडेशन है मतलब इट्स अ टाइम कंज्यूमिंग प्रोसेस, इसीलिए हमने जो मतलब ना जो कंपेयर करें उसके साथ जो एमएच के साथ है मास स्पेक्ट्रोमेट्री के साथ, वो विद इन शॉर्ट टाइम कंप्लीट सीक्वेंस हमें प्रोवाइड कर देता है. सो दैट्स द लिमिटेशन ऑफ एडमंड डिग्रेडेशन कि हमें इसमें सिंगल एमिनो एसिड को मतलब फाइंड आउट करने के लिए उसका प्रोसेस उसको फाइंड आउट करने के लिए अप्रोक्सीमेटली 1 to 2 hours रिक्वायर होते हैं. That's all.
ठीक हो गया. And who
सर ये
जी अवैस जी.
सर ये प्रोलीन के जो बात कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे कि फॉलो करेंगे तो वहाँ पे डाइजेशन नहीं होगी। तो इससे
जी
क्या
जी
मतलब है, उस सीक्वेंस में प्रोलीन आ जाए या?
नहीं नहीं, अगर हमारे पास एक सीक्वेंस में लाइक दिस, इफ वी हैव अ सीक्वेंस और उसमें लाइसिन मौजूद है, तो लाइसिन नॉर्मली जो होगा, ये ट्रिप्सिन क्या करेगा, इट विल डिग्रेड द सीक्वेंस, द पेप्टाइड बॉन्ड एट द कार्बोक्सिल एंड सो ऑफ दिस अमीनो एसिड, ये इस बॉन्ड को ब्रेक कर देगा। बट लाइक इफ दैट इज एनी ऑफ द अमीनो एसिड हियर, लेकिन अगर यहाँ पे इस लाइसिन के बाद अगर प्रोलीन है, सो ये इस वाले बॉन्ड को ब्रेक नहीं कर सकेगा। ट्रिप्सिन जो है दैट विल नॉट ब्रेक दिस बॉन्ड, इट विल नॉट
सर
ब्रेक दिस
क्यों?
बॉन्ड, क्योंकि लाइक आपने प्रोलीन को देखा होगा, प्रोलीन का जो, जी जी, इसका जो अल्काइल ग्रुप है ना, इसका अल्काइल ग्रुप इसके अमीनो ग्रुप के साथ लिंक होता है। दिस इज नॉट अ नॉर्मल अमीनो एसिड, ये अमीनो एसिड से डिफरेंट है थोड़ा सा, तो ये इसके साथ लिंक होता है। सो ये जो पेप्टाइड बॉन्ड है, इट विल हैज इफेक्ट ऑन द पेप्टाइड, द प्रीसीडिंग पेप्टाइड, ये इसके साथ, ये इसकी कन्फर्मेशन थोड़ी सी डिफरेंट होगी। ठीक है,
फ्लेक्सिबल होता है ना प्रोलीन, उसी वजह से नहीं होगा।
होगा ये, इसको जो सेकंड बॉन्ड है उसके लाइसिन के साथ अटैच है, उसको पार्शियली डबल बॉन्ड की मतलब फॉर्म दे देगा, जिसकी वजह से मतलब ट्रिप्सिन इसको मतलब डाइजेस्ट नहीं कर
नहीं,
पाएगा।
पेप्टाइड बॉन्ड तो तमाम जो है वो पार्शियली डबल बॉन्ड होते हैं, ठीक है, तो उसको डबल बॉन्ड, पार्शियल डबल बॉन्ड ही कंसिडर किया जाता है। लेकिन जो नॉर्मल अमीनो एसिड्स हैं, तमाम अमीनो एसिड्स जो है, हाउ हाउ दे आर, इसमें एक अल्फा कार्बन होगा तमाम अमीनो एसिड्स में, यहाँ पे जो है वो COOH होगा या COO, and here we will be having NH2, ठीक है, and here we will be having a hydrogen bond, and here we will be having alkyl group. So they are normal amino acids. So two amino acids ऐसे हैं कि वो कॉमन अमीनो एसिड की तरह बिहेव नहीं करते। वन इज और ये अल्काइल ग्रुप इस वजह से, अल्काइल कायरल कार्बन इसको इस वजह से कहते हैं कि दे हैव 4 डिफरेंट ग्रुप्स। अब ग्लाइसिन में इस R की जगह H है, तो तमाम ग्रुप्स जो हैं वो डिफरेंट नहीं है, इस वजह से उसकी कायरलिटी खत्म हो जाएगी। ग्लाइसिन इज नॉट कॉमन अमीनो, लाइक अमीनो एसिड व्हिच डज नॉट हैव अ कायरल कार्बन। Similarly, proline behave differently because this alkyl group is bound with this amino group, ठीक है, so ये linked होगा, ये like
सर एक क्वेश्चन है।
जी जी, इस वजह से
सर,
ये
अगर
प्रोलीन जो है, ये ट्रिप्सिन को देखा गया है कि अगर कोई अमीनो एसिड के बाद प्रोलीन आ रहा है, तो प्रोलीन जो है वो बॉन्ड जो है, वो पेप्टाइड बॉन्ड ट्रिप्सिन ब्रेक नहीं करता। जी
सर
ऑन।
उसकी एक रीजन, जी सर उसकी एक रीजन ये भी तो हो सकती है ना, क्योंकि प्रोलीन तो हमारे पास ऑलरेडी सेकेंडरी स्ट्रक्चर ब्रेकर है, तो वो तो
हाँ
स्ट्रक्चर को ब्रेक भी तो कर देगा अगर जिस सीक्वेंस में प्रोलीन आ गया तो।
हाँ वो ये, हाँ एग्जैक्टली लेकिन वो जो है, वो ब्रेकर जो है वो सेकेंडरी कंफर्मेशन की ब्रेकर है ना।
जी सर, तो स्ट्रक्चर के अगर सर अगर वो आ गया
स्ट्रक्चर
हमारे
कंफर्म,
पास,
हाँ बिल्कुल स्ट्रक्चर में आ गया, लेकिन जो ट्रिप्सिन है ये स्ट्रक्चर पे, लाइक स्ट्रक्चर जो भी हो, अगर बीटा शीट्स हैं, अल्फा हेलिसेस हैं, जो भी है, ये उसको क्लीव कर देगा, ये लाइसिन जहां भी होगा क्लीव कर देगा। लेकिन अगर प्रोलीन आ गया तो मे बी दी लाइक दैट इज ब्रेकर, और हो सकता है उस वजह से वो क्लीव नहीं कर रहा हो, लेकिन नॉर्मली द ट्रिप्सिन बिहेव्स इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ द स्ट्रक्चर।
ओके सर।
सर यहाँ पे प्रोलीन स्ट्रक्चर को मेंटेन करेगा अगर
प्रो-
प्रोलीन आ
प्रो-
जाता है?
प्रोलीन जो है स्ट्रक्चर इज डिफरेंट, स्ट्रक्चर की हम तो बात ही नहीं कर रहे ना। लाइक अगर यही लाइसिन जो है बीटा शीट्स में है तो ट्रिप्सिन उसको क्लीव कर देगा, अगर यही लाइसिन जो है वो अल्फा हेलिसिस में है, ये उसको क्लीव कर देगा, अगर कॉइल्स में है तो ये क्लीव कर देगा।
तो बस ब्रेकिंग और
लेकिन
डाइजेशन बाय द ट्रिप्सिन है ना, इसमें तो स्ट्रक्चर डिपेंड नहीं करेगा।
नहीं करेगा, लेकिन अगर लाइसिन के बाद प्रोलीन आ गया तो फिर ये क्लीव नहीं करेगा, बिकॉज उसकी एक रीजन यही है कि जो अमीनो ग्रुप
सर
है
एक तो वो
इसका
हाईली उसका
कार्बोक्सिल,
जो
इसका, हाँ इसका
एक तो उसका जो स्ट्रक्चर है सर वो अब नॉर्मल स्ट्रक्चर बन जाएगा।
इसका, हाँ एग्जैक्टली इसका जो यहाँ पे ग्रुप आएगा वो कार्बोक्सिल ग्रुप है, लेकिन दूसरे अमीनो एसिड जो इसके साथ बाइंड कर रहा है उसका अमीनो ग्रुप है, ये अमीनो ग्रुप जो है ये प्रोलीन के केस में ये उसके अल्काइल ग्रुप के साथ अटैच है, ठीक है। तो दैट कुड बी वन ऑफ द रीजन के ये जो है ये लाइक ये बॉन्ड जो है ये ब्रेक नहीं करेगा, सॉरी दिस बॉन्ड इस बॉन्ड को ये ट्रिप्सिन जो है ये ब्रेक नहीं करेगा इस वाले बॉन्ड को। ठीक है, समझ आ रही है? तो जी
सर इसका मतलब ये हुआ ना कि मतलब हमारे पास पहले ही प्रोटीन है जिसकी हमने सीक्वेंसिंग करनी है। इसमें वो जो प्रोटीन वाला है वो तो स्ट्रक्चर हम पढ़ रहे थे ना, स्ट्रक्चर कैसे बनते हैं तो कहाँ पे ब्रेक आता है, वो और टॉपिक है और ये और टॉपिक है, क्योंकि इसमें हमने
एग्जैक्टली
सीक्वेंसिंग करनी है। पहले से जो प्रोटीन बनी हुई है उसकी सीक्वेंस जानना है कि सीक्वेंस जो है वो उसमें कौन कौन से अमीनो एसिड हैं जो कि उसको मिलके बना रहे हैं।
एग्जैक्टली सो यहाँ पे सिर्फ एक बात याद रखने वाली है कि हो सकता है कि ये जरूरी नहीं है कि जितने लाइसिस हो गए हैं, तो ये फॉर इंस्टेंस हमारे पास एक प्रोटीन है और उसके हमारे पास 3 बैंड्स आ गए, तो इसका मतलब है कि 3 स्ट्रैंड्स आ गए, तो ये जरूरी नहीं है कि इसमें यही 2 लाइसिन हो। लाइक एक फ्रेगमेंट है और उसमें 2 लाइसिन मौजूद है, एक यहाँ पे मौजूद है एक यहाँ पे मौजूद है, तो इसका मतलब है कि हमारे पास इस तरह के 3 फ्रेगमेंट्स आ गए। लेकिन ये जरूरी नहीं है, हो सकता है यहाँ पे भी एक लाइसिन मौजूद हो और उस लाइसिन के बाद प्रोलीन मौजूद हो, तो ये जो है ये ब्रेक नहीं हुआ। वो इवन दो लाइसिन तो मौजूद है लेकिन वो ब्रेक नहीं हुआ। ठीक है, तो जस्ट ये माइंड में रखने वाली बात है कि जस्ट लाइक फुली श्योर हमें नहीं होना चाहिए कि लाइक लाइसिन और नहीं होंगे। ठीक है, एम आई क्लियर?
सर हम इसे
सर।
शॉर्ट
सर एक रूल है, सर ये रूल है कि ट्रिप्सिन जो है ये लाइसिन और आर्जिनिन के बाद कट करेगा लेकिन प्रोलीन से पहले कट नहीं करेगा, बस ये रूल है।
एग्जैक्टली इसी तरह है, इसी तरह है, बिल्कुल इसी तरह है।
तो प्रोलीन के लिए हमारे पास कार्बोक्सी पेप्टाइडेज होते हैं, वो यूज होंगे।
एग्जैक्टली और एंजाइम्स और बहुत सारे हैं, ये तो सिर्फ इन 2 की बात हो रही है ना। वी विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस इन डिटेल, लाइक आगे आने वाली चीजें और भी बहुत सारे। ठीक है, सो फिलहाल यही समझ लें कि ये 2 एंजाइम अगर हम यूज कर लें तो उसके थ्रू हम प्रोटीन को सीक्वेंस कर सकते हैं। दिस इज एक्चुअली द स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट। ठीक है, so actually at least we want to know the sequence of a protein, कुछ ना कुछ हमारे पास आइडिया हो जाए कि कौन से अमीनो एसिड जो है वो पहले आ रहे हैं। हम ये भी चाह रहे हैं कि दरमियान से भी अमीनो एसिड हमें पता चल जाए, तो इस तरह देखें हमें स्टार्ट के भी पता चल गए हैं, दरमियान के भी पता चल रहे हैं। ठीक है, क्योंकि उनको हमने स्मॉल स्मॉल पीसेस में डिवाइड कर दिया है और फिर उनके एंड टर्मिनस जो है वो आइडेंटिफाई हो गए हैं विद एडमंड डिग्रेडेशन मेथड। ठीक है, एडमंड डिग्रेडेशन के थ्रू हमने इनके स्टार्टिंग अमीनो एसिड को भी आइडेंटिफाई कर लिया है एंड दैट्स इट। तो इनको अगर हम अलाइन कर लें सो वी गेट अ वेरी ब्यूटीफुल सीक्वेंस। एम आई क्लियर?
जी सर।
ओके,
Yes, sir.
सो 15 मिनट ब्रेक ले लें और उसके बाद जो है वी विल बी टॉकिंग लाइक फर्दर नमाज और लाइक आप ब्रेक ले लें। हमने वापस आना है, अभी 7:41 है, 7:55 पे वापस आना है। ठीक है
ओके
सर अगर अभी पढ़ा दें तो क्लास जल्दी एंड कर दें, ये नहीं हो सकता?
सर कर लें ब्रेक लेंगे, आप सर जल्दी
ब्रेक
बात
ले
end
लें,
कर दें।
फ्रेश हो जाए तो उसके बाद कर लेंगे।
सर एक्चुअली समझ आ रही थी बड़ी अच्छी,
सर इजी है,
बाकी आप देख
समझ
लें
आ
सर।
रही है, काइंडली
समझ आ रही है,
ब्रेक
बस
की नहीं
ठीक है,
जरूरत है।
फिर कंटिन्यू करते हैं। मैं तो आप लोगों के लिए कह रहा था। सो
जी सर,
लाइक
वैसे ही पहले भी क्लास लेट ही ज्वाइन की है वो क्विज की वजह से, तो इश्यू नहीं है सर अभी।
एग्जैक्टली ठीक हो गया। सो मूविंग फर्दर, we have now different chemicals and different enzymes to cleave the protein. Now we need to have some variety of enzymes जो different जगहों पे digest कर सकें। ठीक है, and we actually we need to expand the vista of our like sequencing method. So there are different chemical agents like 70% formic acid, and that is aspartic, that will cleave at the junction of aspartic acid and proline. So here that is 70% formic acid क्या करेगा, ये aspartic acid and proline के दरमियान जो है ये cleave कर देगा। cyanogen bromide in 70% formic acid, अगर हम ये ले लें तो it will cleave at the carboxyl terminus of methionine. So this will be the N terminus and this is the carboxyl terminus. So basically one of the rule is like if we have a peptide, so this is N terminus and this is C, and we will read this protein from N to C. This is actually the rule. So the cyanogen bromide in 70% formic acid, that will cleave at the C terminus of methionine. And after that, we have another chemical 2-nitro-5-thiocyanobenzone, and at pH7, at pH9, it will cleave at the N terminus of cysteine. So when there is cysteine, so it will cleave at the N terminus of that cysteine. So that will cleave this peptide bond rather than this one. So it will not cleave this peptide bond. It will cleave prior to that, prior to cysteine. So if so, we have another chemical, and that chemical is hydroxylamine at pH 9. So it will cleave in between aspartic acid and glycine. So it will cleave like between these two amino acid, in between these two amino acids. We have another chemical, iodobenzoic acid in 50% acidic acid. It will cleave after tryptophan. So after tryptophan, like at the carboxyl terminus of this tryptophan, it will cleave. We have so these are actually the chemical agents. We have some enzymes, and they are endoproteases, like trypsin. We have talked about. We have talked about like trypsin previously. Like trypsin, where this trypsin will cleave, this will cleave at the C terminus of either arginine, or it will cleave at the lysine. So if it find lysine, so it will cleave at the C terminus of that lysine, or if it find arginine, it will cleave at the C terminus of that arginine. Similarly, lysine C, so lys C. So lys C will cleave at the C terminus of lysine. Similarly, arg-C will cleave at the C terminus of arginine. Glu-C, if that is in bicarbonate, that will cleave at the glutamic acid, the C terminus of the glutamic acid. We have talked about this previously as well. So if that is gluc-C phosphate, so it will cleave at the aspartic acid and the glutamic acid, the C terminus of the glutamic acid, or if it find aspartic acid, so it will cleave at the C terminus of the aspartic acid as well. We have another like protease, endoprotease, and that is ASP-N. So it will cleave at the N terminus of the aspartic acid. We have also an enzyme that is chymotrypsin. Chymotrypsin you also already know better. So chymotrypsin is like, it will cleave if it finds phenylalanine, it will cleave at the N terminus of the phenylalanine. It will cleave at the tyrosine, it will cleave at the tryptophan, it will cleave at the leucine, it will cleave at the methionine, and the N terminus of the methionine, leucine, tryptophan, tyrosine, phenylalanine, also isoleucine and valine. So all these amino acids, the chymotrypsin will cleave all these amino acids if this enzyme find any of these amino acids within a chain. So here we need to know that the cleavage properties of all endoproteases. So all endoproteases except ASN. So ASN except this one, all of them, they are dependent on the residue after the cleavage site not being proline. So if all these will be depending upon the situation that proline must not follow this. Proline must not follow proline must not follow this. So sorry, the proline must not follow this arginine, this glutamic acid, this aspartic acid, because these enzymes, they have to cleave these site at the C terminus, and the proline should not be there. Otherwise, it will not cleave. That bond will not break. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And who will explain?
सर मैं समझा दूं?
नहीं, कोई और कर देगा, क्योंकि किसी और का भी like I want some another one like.
Okay, sir.
Who will explain? Zain is there. Zain Abbas.
Yes, sir.
जी. Please explain.
सर आपने बताया कि जो ग्लाइसिन है उसमें कायरल कार्बन ही होता है, ठीक है। और जो प्रोलीन है उसमें होता है कि जो उसकी थोड़ी सी वो है डेविएशन है कि उसमें जो आर ग्रुप है वो एन ग्रुप से अटैच होता है। उसके बाद आपने डिफरेंट ये जो रिएजेंट्स हैं और केमिकल्स बताए हैं, ये प्रोटीन्स को पेप्टाइड्स में ब्रेक करते हैं, ठीक है। इसमें एक डेविएशन थी वही एंड पे कि आज हमारे पास जितने भी प्रोटीएज हैं यहाँ पे ट्रिप्सिन, लाइसिन, सी, ये तमाम जो है ये सी टर्मिनस पे ब्रेक कर रहे हैं, ठीक है। तो इनके बाद जो है वो प्रोलिन रेजिड्यू नहीं होना चाहिए, लेकिन जो ASP और एस्पार्टेट एन है यहाँ पे ये ब्रेक कर सकते हैं क्योंकि ये एन टर्मिनस पे आता है साथ इसके ब्रेक।
जी एग्जैक्टली। तो एंड हु लाइक जो चीजें रह गई हैं, कुछ बातें इसमें रह गई हैं, हु विल एक्सप्लेन? अवैस इज देयर?
यस सर।
जी अवैस।
सर आपने यहाँ पे बताया एक तो एंजाइम से हम कट करते हैं, मतलब फॉर एग्जांपल ये जो एंजाइम है, ट्रिप्सिन है, लाइसिन है, ये सारे जाके सी टर्मिनल पे कट कर रहे थे, सिवाय ये एस्प के, ये एन टर्मिनल पे कट करता है। और ऊपर जो है वो केमिकल रिजेंट्स हैं वो यूज करते हैं, तो वो भी कटिंग के लिए इस्तेमाल हो रहे थे।
जी एग्जैक्टली। सो गोइंग फर्दर, सो लाइक वी हैव
सर एक क्वेश्चन था
जी
सर, स्लाइड पीछे कीजिएगा।
जी मैडम।
सर देखिए जो फॉर्मिक एसिड है 70%,
ओके दिस वन, ठीक है।
वो भी तो अस्पर्टेट और प्रोलीन के दरमियान का बॉन्ड जो है वो ब्रेक कर रहा है। लेकिन हमने
जी
नीचे बात की है जो ग्लूसीफॉस्फेट है उसमें भी अगर अस्पर्टेट और प्रोलीन आ जाएगा तो हमने वहां बात की है कि वो बॉन्ड ब्रेक नहीं करेगा। तो ये क्यों, ऐसा क्यों होगा?
इसके रीजन
एक
नॉन नहीं
एंजाइम है और
जी,
दूसरा केमिकल है।
दूसरा केमिकल है, ठीक है। लेकिन इसके रीजन नोन नहीं है कि व्हाई दिस विल हैपन, लेकिन ये इस तरह होता है लाइक ये केमिकल्स यूज करके। आप भी देख लें, मैं भी देखता हूँ, कोई अगर इस तरह इसका कोई इसकी कोई रीजन मिल गई तो वी विल डिस्कस।
ओके सर।
ठीक है। सो एंड next to it is, so adamant degradation was the first chemical general method for de novo sequencing of proteins. So it was actually the first method to identify without the to identify the amino acid sequence without any prior knowledge of the amino acids. So any of the protein actually. So any method for direct chemical sequencing of a protein must remove amino acids selectively and progressively from one end of a molecule by breaking only the terminal peptide bond. So it means like if we have amino acid so if we have the peptide sequence, we need to know either like when this amino acid is cleaved apart, it needs to be detected first. So if that is valine, so after that the next amino acid needs to be taken from there, that could be degraded from there, and that could be then degraded, that is like for instance isoleucine, and the third one is like that is methionine, and the fourth one is like we actually want to know the sequence like this. So it means that remove the amino acid selectively and progressively, it should progress from one end of the molecule to the other end by breaking only the terminal amino terminal peptide bond. So it needs to go progressively from one end to the other end. So in that way we can get the sequence. But okay, so each amino acid can then be identified by HPLC. So how we will identify these amino acids? With HPLC, by running those amino acid or those things with on HPLC, we will identify the amino acid. So there are several methods for sequencing proteins from either the N or C terminus using a broad specificity exopeptidase. So we can use exopeptidase as well. So for endopeptidases, we were talking about endopeptidases, but we do have exopeptidases which cleave at the ends of the protein. So like and not within the protein. So we have exopeptidases which can determine which can give us the N and C terminus of the peptide. So, but most reliable and therefore the most reliable and therefore the most widely used method is Edman degradation, which was developed by Edman in 1960s. So in 1960s, the Edman sequencing was determined and developed, and after that, it was being in use. The Edman degradation actually involves labeling the N-terminus amino acid of a protein or the peptide with phenyl isothiocyanate. So previously we have given that in here. So here, this is actually the phenyl isothiocyanate and the binding of this and with the N-terminus, and it will cleave that apart, and in the next cycle, it will attach with the another terminal protein amino acid, and it will cleave that apart as well, and the cyclic derivative will form, and that will be determined through HPLC, and that's it. So,
सर
जी
सर आपने HPLC का बताया, इसमें तो HPLC में तो हम रेफरेंस प्रोटीन यूज करते हैं, रेफरेंस को ही लेते हैं स्टैंडर्ड।
जी तो उन
और
अमीनो एसिड
डिनोवा कैसे होगा फिर ये? डिनोवा में तो रेफरेंस लेते हैं हम
हाँ, नहीं इसमें इस तरह है कि इस प्रोटीन का कोई रेफरेंस हमारे पास नहीं है। हम जो अमीनो एसिड इफ दैट इज क्लीव फ्रॉम हियर, ये अमीनो एसिड जब यहाँ से क्लीव होगा तो HPLC में ऑलरेडी अमीनो एसिड का रेफरेंस मौजूद है, ठीक है। अमीनो हमें ये नहीं पता कि ये कौन सा अमीनो एसिड है, वो यहाँ पे अपने करस्पॉन्डिंग पीक के साथ आ जाना है, ठीक है। सो वी विल नो दैट दिस इज मेथायोनिन, ठीक है। इसके बाद दूसरा अमीनो एसिड जो है वो यहाँ पे तो रेफरेंस में होगा, लेकिन इस प्रोटीन का हमारे पास कोई रेफरेंस नहीं है। होमोलॉजी मॉडलिंग हम नहीं कर रहे, होमोलॉजी सीक्वेंसिंग नहीं कर रहे। जिस तरह इससे पहले वाला मेथड क्या था, केमिकल डिग्रेडेशन कंप्लीटली डीनेचर कर दें, हाइड्रोलिसिस कर लें और उसको ऑलरेडी जो नॉन प्रोटीन कंपोजिशंस हैं उनके साथ कंपेयर कर लें। तो इस तरह ये नहीं है, ठीक है। तो यहाँ पे हमारे पास कोई और प्रोटीन प्रीवियसली नहीं है, हमने एक प्रोटीन को सेपरेट आउट कर लिया, उस प्रोटीन के पीक के से हमने बता देना है कि ये कौन सा अमीनो एसिड है। अगर हमें डायरेक्टली कोई तरीका अगर हमारे पास हो उस अमीनो एसिड को डिटरमिन करने का, तो हमें HPLC में जाने की जरूरत ही नहीं है। ठीक है, समझ आ रही है?
यस सर, थैंक यू।
जी, that's great. So okay, so Edman degradation involves labeling of N-terminus amino acid of a protein or the peptide with the phenyl isothiocyanate, and that's it. And and how the terminal amino acids will be removed from the terminus. So mild acid hydrolysis then result in the cleavage of the peptide bond immediately adjacent to this modified residue but cleave the rest of the protein intact. So इसका ये मतलब हुआ कि how when it reacts with this amino acid, so how this bond will break. So it says that mild acid will hydrolyze this peptide bond, and this will release this thing, but the mild acid will have no impact and they will not degrade the other peptide bonds, and that's it. So this is how the Edman sequencing proceeds. Okay, so the terminal amino acid or rather it's phenyl hydantione derivative can then be identified by chromatography through HPLC, and the procedure is repeated onto the next residue and then the next, thus building up longer sequences. So okay, so with automation, Edman degradation can sequence a small peptide up. So keep in mind, Edman degradation has certain limitations, and that's why Edman degradation is the protein sequences are less available than the DNA sequences. Let's see how Edman degradation is less feasible. The reason is, even with automation, Edman degradation can sequence a small peptide that is 10 residue. 10 residue is a small peptide, and that's not enough in about 24 hours. So it will get 24 hours to get only 10 residues. If we have a protein, and in that protein, this protein is that is 1700 amino acid long, only 10 amino acids can be identified, the N-terminus 10 amino acid can be identified in how much time? In 24 hours. In 24 hours, only 10 amino acids can be identified, and a larger peptide of 30 to 40 amino acid in how much time? In 3 days. So 1 day for 10, so 3 days for 30. So like it will take much more time, and this is time consuming process. So like it is not suitable for sequencing protein larger than 50 residues. So this is another limitation. We cannot sequence more than 50 residues. So if we have a sequence, and that sequence has like 1500, 2000 or 3000 amino acids, only the first 50 residues can be sequenced and not all, and the other one cannot be sequenced. So because each cycle of degradation is less than 100% efficient, so one cycle, so one amino acid will be degraded, and the next cycle will start, and the other strand will be amino acid will be taken, the third amino acid will be taken in each cycle. So every cycle is less than 100% efficient. So due to the efficiency, due to the contamination, and due to like many factors, due to the time. So this means that after a large number of cycles, so if we have much more cycles are like, so they are the cycles. So this will be first cycle, it will repeat for another amino acid, second cycle repeat for the third amino acid, the third cycle. Each of these cycles are less than 100% efficient, and with every cycle, what will happen?
Sir.
So with every cycle, this means that a mixed population of molecules in analyte rather than pure sample will be added. So single round of Edman degradation produce multiple peaks. So instead we get a single peak, we will get multiple peaks when we go further from one round to the another round to the third round and into the fourth round. And that's the reason, because some of the peptides will be broken, the other will be not broken, and they will give us like many peptides. Like we can say, for instance, we have a peptide bond. We have like a polypeptide, and we have multiple polypeptides, and these multiple polypeptides. So we have so many polypeptides. So the chemical has degraded this amino acid, and this amino acid, and this amino acid, the starting one, and it left this one. So these amino acids were determined, and in the next cycle, it cleaves this amino acid, and this amino acid, and this amino acid is left behind, and this amino acid. So now, like we have these amino acid plus this contamination. So this will be now like with every cycle, it will have mixed population of molecules. It will not have a pure sample for the chromatography. So due to the mixed population of molecules, with the proceeding single rounds of Edman degradation, so that will give multiple peaks. So this peak will be different, this peak will be different, and this peak will be different. And in the third, it will give maybe it will give this amino acid, and somehow the first one are so like. So there are many problems, and when we proceed from one round to another round to a third round, the mixed population increases, and that is the limitation of Edman sequencing. Am I clear or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Who will explain?
सर मैं बता दूं
नहीं, कोई और बता दे। अवैस आप बता चुके हैं, अक्सा भी बता चुके हैं, so who will explain?
जी सर, इसमें ना हम लोगों ने दो मेथड देखे क्लीवेज के। तो एक था जिसमें सीक्वेंसिंग के प्रोटीन की कर रहे थे, एक डायरेक्ट मेथड था केमिकल से कर रहे थे। उसमें एक तो वो तब होगी जब वो सीक्वेंस मतलब क्लियरली रिमूव होगा और प्रोग्रेसिवली, और दूसरा जो था हमने प्रेफर करना है ये एडमन मेथड। सर वो पिछली स्लाइड ओपन करें।
नहीं, इसके लिमिटेशंस क्या है एडमन के? अच्छा, किसी और को बताने दें। अवैस आप पहले भी बता
जी सर, इसमें 3 लिमिटेशंस आ रही हैं।
जी बताएं। बताएं प्लीज, बताएं लिमिटेशंस क्या। ओके, हु विल एक्सप्लेन?
सर मैं बता दूं।
जी अक्सर बताएं।
सर इसकी लिमिटेशंस में हमने ये पढ़ा है कि ये बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम कंज्यूमिंग है। इवन के स्मॉल पेप्टाइड भी हो, यानी इवन 10 रेजिड्यूज भी हो, तो उनके लिए पूरा एक दिन लगेगा या 24 आवर्स लगेंगे। और अगर 30 to 40 रेजिड्यूज होते हैं तो उसी हिसाब से फिर 3 days लग जाएंगे। और उसके अलावा इसका एक ये लिमिटेशन भी है कि ये 50 रेजिड्यूज से ज़्यादा प्रोटीन अगर हो लंबी तो उसको सीक्वेंस नहीं कर सकता, ठीक है। और जितने ज़्यादा साइकिल चलते जाएंगे उतनी ही ज़्यादा 100% से एफिशिएंसी कम होती जाएगी, ठीक है। फिर उसके बाद हमने लास्ट पे पढ़ा कि इसमें सिंगल राउंड में हमारे पास जो है वो मल्टीपल पीक्स बन सकती हैं, क्योंकि जैसे जैसे साइकिल 1 by 1 इंक्रीज मतलब साइकिल चलते जाएंगे वैसे वैसे हमारे पास मिक्स्ड पॉपुलेशंस आती जाएंगी, प्योर सैंपल नहीं रहेगा हमारा, जिसकी वजह से हमारे पास मल्टीपल पीक्स आ जाएंगी। तो ये इसकी 3 लिमिटेशंस थी एडमिन डिग्रेडेशन की।
जी जी एग्जैक्टली। सो मिक्स पॉपुलेशन की वजह से सीक्वेंसिंग प्रॉपर नहीं होगी, ठीक है। एंड नेक्स्ट टू इट इज द प्रॉब्लम इज, जी जी इकरा।
सर ब्रेक ले लें।
नहीं ब्रेक नहीं, खत्म करते हैं, ब्रेक तो पहले भी ले रहे थे लेकिन
ओके सर।
जी जी ओके।
सर
सो
एक क्वेश्चन है प्रीवियस स्लाइड से रिलेटेड।
जी ओएस।
सर यहाँ जी सर, ये जो पहली जो 2 लाइनें हैं ना, यहाँ पे एक टर्मिनल अमीनो एसिड की बात की जा रही है और दूसरा ये कहा जा रहा है कि जब इसका क्लीवेज होगा ये बिल्कुल इसका पेप्टाइड अलग हो जाएगा दूसरे से। फर्स्ट लाइन में जो लिखा हुआ है ना ब्लू वाला, द क्लीवेज ऑफ,
हाँ हाँ ठीक है,
ये मतलब
ठीक है
अपने
ना।
उस दूसरे से अलग हो जाएगा। फिर उसके बाद यहाँ दूसरी लाइन में ये टर्मिनल जो अमीनो एसिड है ये क्या चीज़ है, और
सर
वो
मैं
ऊपर
बता दूं ये
जी जी बताएं।
वाला
सर एडमिन डिग्रेडेशन में हमने पढ़ा था कि हम फिनाइल आइसोथायोसाइनेट यूज कर रहे हैं, वो एक रीजेंट है। जब हम रीजेंट ऐड करेंगे तो एंड टर्मिनल से पेप्टाइड के साथ 1 by 1 अमाइनो एसिड के साथ वो अटैच होता जाएगा और उन्हें सेपरेट करता जाएगा, ठीक है। हर साइकिल में एक अमाइनो एसिड सेपरेट होगा। अब यहाँ पे ये बात की है कि जब हम एक अमाइनो एसिड सेपरेट होगा तो वो जो उसके साथ फिनाइल आइसोथायोसाइनेट अटैच हुआ है वो मॉडिफाई हो चुका है ना, वहां उसकी मॉडिफिकेशन हुई है। जैसे जैसे अमाइनो एसिड सेपरेट होते जाएंगे बाद में उनको हम क्रोमेटोग्राफी से जो है वो आइडेंटिफाई करते जाएंगे कि ये कौन से अमाइनो एसिड्स हैं। बाकी की प्रोटीन जो इंटैक्ट रहेगी, जो अभी तक जिसके साथ अभी मतलब उनको रिमूव नहीं किया, जो रिमूव हो चुका हुआ है उसको हम क्रोमेटोग्राफी से आइडेंटिफाई करेंगे।
एग्जैक्टली इसी तरह। वैसे आपको आंसर मिल गया क्वेश्चन का?
सर मैं ये कह रहा हूँ जो रिमूव होगा ये टर्मिनल अमीनो एसिड उसका है, या जो प्रोटीन रह जाएगी
हाँ
उसका है?
नहीं नहीं, ये जो रिमूव हो जाएगा ना वो क्या होगा, वो फिनाइल आइसोथायोसाइनेट के साथ बाउंड हुआ है ना। सो ये फिनाइल आइसोथायोसाइनेट का जो है वो डेरिवेटिव है थायो हाइडेटियोन डेरिवेटिव। सो उस अमीनो एसिड, अगर हम प्रीवियस स्लाइड में देखें ना, हम जाएं यहाँ पे लाइक हियर। सो यहाँ पे ये डेरिवेटिव है अब आइसोथायोसाइनेट का, ठीक है। सो ये इसको फिर हम जेल पे रन, उस पे रन करेंगे, क्रोमेटोग्राफी पे रन करेंगे और उस कॉलम में इसको फिर लाइक इसको उसकी पीक आ जाएगी और हमारे पास तो HPLC में, एंड वी विल डिटरमिन दिस थिंग, ठीक है, क्योंकि ये अमीनो एसिड के साथ बाउंड है। सो नेक्स्ट पे फिर ये दूसरा क्लीव होगा, उसको डिटरमिन किया जाएगा फिर नेक्स्ट साइकिल में, थर्ड पे एंड सो ऑन। एम आई क्लियर?
यस सर।
ठीक हो गया। So and next to it is, so the problem अब हमारे पास ये problems आ रहे थे, mixed populations of amino acid of molecules आ रहे थे जो like due to these reasons the ADME sequencing is not like up to that standard. So the problem is addressed by cleaving large protein into peptides using either chemical reagent are specific endoproteases. So if we have a larger protein, so what we need to do, we need to cleave that with certain proteases and to divide this larger protein into small fragments. Each of these fragments will be taken separately, and each of these protein can be separately sequenced in Edman sequencing. So when all of these sequences are like sequenced in Edman sequences, they can be aligned together, that can be assembled together, that can be assembled together to form a single, to sequence the long fragment of the protein, the long protein. समझ आ रही है? Otherwise, 50 is the limit. Beyond 50, the peptide bond cannot be sequenced with Edman degradation. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
And next to it is, for example, trypsin is endoprotease that cleaves specifically at the C-terminus side of the basic amino acids residues, lysine and arginine, as long as next residue is that proline. This is again the old story. We can use trypsin and it will cleave the C-terminus of the basic amino acid like arginine and lysine. So since both lysine and arginine are common amino acid, a protein of about 500 residues might contain 20 to 50 sites. So if we have a 500 residues protein, so it will have approximately 20 to 50 sites of arginine and lysine. So it is the arginine and lysine are too much frequent within every protein. So due to its high frequency, trypsin is the most favorite the endoprotease that is used to sequence a protein. And the determination of these individual sequences would allow the entire sequence of the protein to build up as a series of fragments. So a series of fragments can be identified first, they could be sequenced first, and then could be assembled to get one protein, and that's it. Okay, who will explain?
Sir, एक question था मेरा.
जी.
Sir, can we sequence multiple segments at the same time simultaneously? जिस तरह से हम qPCR में multiple segments की amplification करवाते हैं, तो हम इसकी sequencing नहीं करवा सकते? कोई tool ऐसा available नहीं है हमारे पास?
No, we don't have a tool right now. Like this Edman sequences can be done at like we add like the first cycle of all the tubes. We will get all the samples in different tubes, the fragments in different tubes, and all those can be proceed at a time, so that we can get the sequence, and we can in every case, and we will assemble all those, and then we can get like in the lesser time that has been determined. Otherwise, we have no automated tool to sequence the whole protein, just like in DNA sequencing in the NGS. Like in that case, we don't have like that.
So इसमें तो हमें manually करना पड़ेगा ना, हर peptide हर tube में अलग-अलग से.
Exactly. That's why it is difficult. Okay, and who will explain?
मैं करूँ?
इकरा.
फिर हमारे पास लिमिटेशंस आ रही थी कि वो जो बहुत ज्यादा बड़ी प्रोटीन है, लार्ज प्रोटीन्स के लिए टाइम कंज्यूम करता है उसको सीक्वेंस करते हुए, और सेकंड थी कि मिक्स्ड मॉलिक्यूल्स आ रहे थे प्योर सैंपल की बजाय। तो हम लोगों ने इसको एड्रेस करने के लिए उन लार्ज प्रोटीन्स को हम लोगों ने पेप्टाइड्स के अंदर कन्वर्ट किया यूजिंग प्रोटीएजेस जो कि प्रोटीन्स को क्लीव कर रहे थे इनटू स्मॉलर फ्रैगमेंट्स। फॉर एग्जांपल हम लोगों ने जैसे ट्रिप्सिन की पहले बात की थी, जो कि बेसिक अमीनो एसिड लाइसिन और आर्जिनिन को तभी क्लीव करता है जब उनके आगे प्रोलीन नहीं मौजूद होता। तो अब लाइसिन और आर्जिनिन दोनों कॉमन अमीनो एसिड्स हैं, तो ये ज्यादा पाए जाते हैं एक सीक्वेंस के अंदर, तो इसलिए वो जो रेजिड्यूज में कन्वर्ट होंगे वो एटलीस्ट 25 रेजिड्यूज मतलब उसके बनेंगे। तो इस तरह हमें सीक्वेंस करना इजी हो जाएगा और इंटायर सीक्वेंस प्रोटीन का इन अ सीरीज ऑफ फ्रैगमेंट इजीली सीक्वेंस हो जाएगा।
जी एग्जैक्टली इसी तरह। तो एंड so however, without further information, there is no way to assemble the fragment in correct order. This information can be obtained in two ways. So please do understand the complexity. If we cleave a protein at different position and we aliquot them, we get all these fragments in different vials and we sequence all of them. But now the problem is we sequence this fragment, we sequence this fragment, we sequence this fragment, and we sequence this fragment, this and this and this. So we now get to know the amino acid within these fragments. But the problem is how to assemble them. Like this could be one, this could be like two, this could be three. How we will know that this is that sequence, this is that sequence? Because only like when we digest this sequence, we will run that sequence onto a gel and we will get different bands. And these bands will be like taken into the vials. These bands will be taken into the vials, and we will actually don't know which one is the first and which one should be the second and third and so forth, so on and forth. So we will not know that. So what could be done in that regard? So check this sentence again. Without further information, there is no way to assemble the fragments in the correct order. So we cannot assemble in the correct order, if we don't have further information. And this information is obtained in two ways. We can get information in two ways. Overlapping fragments can be sequenced after digesting the protein using reagent with different specificity to trypsin. It is important to choose a reagent that cuts frequently, because a reagent with very large and specific recognition site would not generate enough informative peptides. So it is talking about 2 points, and the 2 important points. That means if we have a peptide, we will aliquot that peptide, the same peptide. It will be digested with trypsin. This will be digested with like glucine. And the same strategy that has been applied previously, like let's check it now in this perspective as well. We will digest the same protein with 2 different enzymes, and we'll sequence this these fragments. We will sequence this fragment as well, and we need to align these fragments. Now we will align this like this. We can align like this could be the first one, this could be the second one, and this could be the third one. But only this, like if we align this with in this direction, so there will be tryptophan here, glycine, valine, isoleucine, lysine. So lysine, and after lysine there is alanine. So this is how it can be aligned. So here this is glutamic acid, isoleucine. So that means this and isoleucine will follow glutamic acid, and this histidine will follow lysine. And in that way, when we assemble these two types of digestions, when we assemble them, we get to know the actual sequence of the protein. And now it is assembled and sequenced. And next to it is
सर यानी पहले हमने इंट्रोडक्शन पढ़ा, अभी हम डिटेल्स पढ़ रहे हैं इन मेथड्स की.
जी exactly. So overlapping fragments हमने करने हैं, like due to the overlapping fragment we will exactly know the correct order of the fragments. So previously we don't know actually the order of the fragment, even though we sequence that, but we don't know the order. So with this strategy we can know the order of the correct order of the sequence. And next is we can also solve the amino acid sequence of the peptide can be used to design degenerate primers, which can then be used to isolate corresponding genomic cDNA sequence, and this can be translated to predict the full length sequence and so on. So keep in mind, like if we have a protein, like if we have a peptide and we determine only this region and this region, like the first 10 sequences here and the last 10 sequences, 10 amino acid here and the 10 amino acid here. Now, if we know there is methionine here, and after methionine there is valine, and there is cytosine, there is cysteine. So say for instance, now we will convert these amino acid into the nucleotides. So after converting that into these amino acid into nucleotides, after converting the amino acid into nucleotides, we will transform the amino acid into a nucleotide. Say for instance, methionine is AUG. So we will write that AUG. After that, that is valine. Say for instance, that is CCC. And after that, cysteine. So that is CUG. Like this is not the actually the codon for that, but I am like just writing that to exemplify this thing. So this can be used as primer. Now isolate the DNA or RNA and now do the PCR. And after using the primers here and here, after using the primer, we can sequence the DNA or RNA. When we sequence the DNA, and after that we can translate the DNA into the amino acid. So there are online translate tools available, and we know actually if that's the codons are, so we can determine the amino acids from that codons easily. So we can design primers. And what is degenerate primer? Degenerate primer is another thing. So for one cysteine, there will be, say for instance, there are 2 or 3 codons available to encode one amino acid. So say for instance, we have like CCC and CUG and CUU. So all these 3 amino acids that encodes like cysteine. So these 3 codons, so which of the codon I need to take? So I can design a primer, say for instance AUG, and then is CCC, and then is CUG. So this is CUG, and with this G I can like make a slash. This could be either C, this could be either U. So at this position there will be either of the 3 nucleotide. So this type of primer is known as degenerate primer. So this is not like the primer, like the simple primer. This is degenerate primer, where the vowel base is there. The like so, and in this way we will design primer. We will design degenerate primers. And now the number of DNA sequences widely outnumber the number of protein sequences. This approach is usually unnecessary. We do not like sequence in this way. We directly get the primer sequences, and directly we sequence the DNA, and after that we get the the sequence, like we translate the the nucleotide sequence into amino acid sequence, and that's like indirectly we get the protein sequence, the amino acid sequence of the protein. Am I clear or not?
सर रिपीट कर दें सेकंड पॉइंट.
जी, प्राइमर की समझ नहीं आई?
जी सर, ये सेकंड.
ओके, सो समझ लें इसको प्लीज. अगर हम सिर्फ इसको देख लें, उसके बाद इसको डिस्कस कर लें. The solved amino acid sequence of the peptide can be used to design degenerate primers, which can be used to isolate corresponding genomic or cDNA sequences. This can then be translated to predict the full length of the protein sequence. Previously, we do not know the full length of the protein sequence, so we only just get the ends of the protein. So in early 1980s, when directly solved protein sequences outnumbered DNA sequences, it was common to use protein sequence to design degenerate primers. Now the number of DNA sequences vastly outnumber the number of protein sequences. This approach is usually unnecessary. So now like we get the DNA sequence, and from the DNA sequence we directly get the protein sequence. But keep in mind, if we don't have any other option, we can design degenerate primer. And what degenerate primer is, like if we have a sequence like valine, isoleucine, tyrosine, like tyrosine and tryptophan, like this sequence. So like how I can design a degenerate primer. So for valine, maybe there are 3 different codons like CCG and CCU and CCCA. So these 3 different codons encode valine. So what should I write in the primer? So may I like to amplify the DNA? I have the protein sequence. So I will write like CCC, and after that this CCG, and I will write /U or /A. So it could be CCG, CCU, or CCA. And after that, the another amino acid is isoleucine. I will write the codon for that. After that, there is the valine, tyrosine, the codon for that, and the tryptophan, the codon for that. And if in any case, if that is the degenerate, so we will be writing like this. So that will mean after synthesis of the primer will be one of the ratio 1 of the strand will be CCG, the other will be CCU, the other will be CCA. So we will be having a primer like CCG, and after that the other codons, and next like some of the strands will be CCU, and after that these other codons, and after that we have like CCA. So and these codons, so that will mean when we get the primer, like this is the forward primer, so in this forward primer there will be 3 different species of this primer, because it is degenerate at this position. Am I clear or not? So in this way, if in the original, if that is C, so this primer will work, this will not work, they will not work. So only this primer will work. So we need to have at least something that will work. So we cannot blindly use one of these 3. So we will, therefore, and this type of primers is known as degenerate primers. So therefore, we are in need to design degenerate primers in this case. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So that's great. Okay, and who will explain the whole slide? Who will explain? Amna Khawar. Amna Khawar is here. G. Okay, you have problem with my. Okay, Mariam. Okay, Akib Ali. Akib is there. Akib. आकिब आपको आवाज आ रही है? तमिश्का, come on. हाफिजा सरवत नूर. अक्सा शहजादी. अक्सा शहजादी. वजीहा.
जी सर प्रेजेंट।
जी वजीहा बताएं ये स्लाइड. Okay, Aksa Khalid is there. Aksa Khalid. चले जैन आप बता दें.
सर इसमें आपने बताया कि अगर हमने फ्रेगमेंट्स को सैम्पल करना है करेक्ट ऑर्डर में तो हमें इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए होती है फर्दर. तो इसमें पहला जो इंफॉर्मेशन मेथड बताया आपने उसमें यह है कि जो ओवरलैपिंग फ्रेगमेंट्स हैं उनको हम सीक्वेंस कर सकते हैं यूजिंग रिएजेंट. तो जो रिएजेंट हम यूज़ कर रहे हैं उसके लिए चाहिए कि वो जो कट प्रोड्यूस कर रहा है फ्रिक्वेंटली प्रोड्यूस कर रहा हो, मतलब जगह जगह पे. अगर हम ऐसा रीजेंट यूज़ नहीं करेंगे तो हमारे पास जो है वो जो पेप्टाइड्स आएंगे वो ज़्यादा नहीं आएंगे. ठीक है. और दूसरा जो मेथड है वो ये है इंफॉर्मेशन वो ये है कि जो हमारे पास अमीनो एसिड सॉल्व हो जाएंगे उनसे हम पीसीआर डिजेनरेट पीसीआर प्राइमर जो है वो डिज़ाइन कर सकते हैं और उनसे हम फर्दर जो है वो cDNA सीक्वेंस कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री जो है वो आइसोलेट कर सकते हैं. अब होता क्या है कि हमारे पास जो डीएनए सीक्वेंस है उससे हम प्रोटीन सीक्वेंसेस जो हैं वो बना लेते हैं. तो हमारे लिए ये अप्रोच जो है वो इतनी ज़रूरी नहीं है.
जी जी एग्जैक्टली. तो okay, and next to it is in the mid 1980s a technique was developed for the transfer of protein separated by 2D gel electrophoresis onto polyvinyl difluoride membranes, followed by in situ digestion with trypsin, sequencing by Edman degradation. So this technique was like initially the protein was like if we have a tissue sample, so from the tissue, so if we have a tissue sample, and from that tissue, so if we have a tissue sample, and what we will do, we will like extract protein from that tissue. So like protein extraction will occur. So we will extract protein, and after that or if we have expressed the protein, we can do the same thing. So after that, we need to run the protein on 2D gel electrophoresis. So that will be, after that is 2D gel electrophoresis. So 2D gel electrophoresis, you will be talking about this in detail in your recombinant DNA technology class.
सर
जी जी
सर वो अक्सा जो कह रही है कि शायद आपने उसे
सर
रिमूव कर दिया, तो प्लीज उसको ऐड कर दें।
हो गई है, दोबारा ज्वाइन मैंने कर लिया।
Okay, so 2D gel electrophoresis hai. So after and the 2D gel electrophoresis, short is we will run the protein. We will run the protein in the 2D gel electrophoresis. We will run the protein horizontally based on the isoelectric point. And once we separate the protein based on the isoelectric points, so after that, like we get different proteins on this based on isoelectric points. So maybe these different proteins, maybe they have like this is the complex of 2 or 3 proteins. So this maybe there are 2 or 3 proteins with the same isoelectric point. So another dimension is required, and that is we will run that vertically based on their sizes. So based on their size, we will have the same, like on the same isoelectric point, we will have different proteins. So that will mean this is like this. And here again is the same. And here if we get 2 proteins. So like on this same region. So in this way, the 3 the proteins could be like separated in 2 dimensions. So this is 2-dimension gel electrophoresis. After electrophoresis, we need to have another procedure, and that is the blotting. And that is blotting is actually the transfer of, like if that is like we now get a gel, and in this gel, like if we have a protein on this 2D gel, and like this is, the proteins are within the gel. So we have proteins within the gel, and these proteins are now need to be transferred onto a membrane. So this is a gel, and this needs to be transferred onto a membrane. And the normal membrane that like we need to use is polyvinyl difluoride. So this membrane is actually used, like this cellulose membrane be used, and this membrane can be used. We need to transfer the protein onto a onto a membrane, and the transfer of protein from the gel onto a membrane is known as blotting. And this specific blotting will be called as southern blot. Sorry, this will be called as western blotting. So this will be called as western blotting. If this blotting correspond to like this, the DNA, if this is the DNA, that will be called a southern, and if that is the RNA, that will be the northern. So we will do the western blotting. So that will be transfer of the 2D gel onto the PVDF membrane. So, and after that, in situ digestion, now we need to digest the protein with the like the trypsin, and after that with sequencing with Edman degradation. So we need to degrade the sequence with Edman sequencing, and we need to do the Edman sequencing, and this is actually the whole technique. So after that, however, even with improved membranes, so we improve the membranes, efficient digestion methods, we improved that. Processing methods were improved. The technique still is laborious, and this is actually time taking, and this is actually long lasting, because so this is taking much time because, and complexities, because of the length of the time it takes to complete the single Edman chemistry cycle. So for the single cycle it takes longer time. And second, many proteins are not amenable to Edman chemistry because the alpha amino group of N-terminal amino acid is often modified. For example, acetylation. If acetylation is occurred at the N-terminal of an amino acid, so the Edman sequencing will not occur. It when the isothiocyanate will not degrade the amino acid, so therefore does not react with the phenyl isothiocyanate. So the modification actually hinders the Edman sequencing or Edman degradation. So first is the length of the time. Second is modification, N-terminal amino acid modification. And because of these intrinsic limitations, it was soon realized that proteins could never be sequenced on the same scale as DNA without completely a new approach. So now we need a new approach, as this Edman sequencing, even though with many facilities, it does not like in that scale that DNA has progressed. The protein sequencing is not like in that way progressed like in the DNA sequencing. So we need to have a completely different approach. We are searching for a completely different approach to sequence proteins, and that's it. Who will explain?
सर मैं करूँ?
जी जी
सर हम लोगों ने जब हमने प्रोटीन ऑब्टेन कर लिया, उसके बाद हम लोगों ने सबसे पहले उसकी 2D जेल इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस करवाई है, जो कि हॉरिजॉन्टली होती है ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ आइसोइलेक्ट्रिक पॉइंट एंड वर्टिकली ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ इट्स मॉलिक्यूलर साइज। जब हमें उसके एक जेल के ऊपर हमारे पास बैंड्स आ गए हैं, उसके बाद हम लोगों ने उसको ट्रांसफर करना है एक मेम्ब्रेन के ऊपर, पॉलीविनाइलिडीन डाइफ्लोराइड मेम्ब्रेन, जो कि प्रोसेस है वेस्टर्न ब्लॉटिंग का। उस मेम्ब्रेन के ऊपर ट्रांसफर करने के बाद हम लोगों ने उसकी ट्रिप्सिन के साथ डाइजेशन करवा के और बाद में एडमिन डिग्रेडेशन के साथ वैसे सीक्वेंस कराई है 1 by 1 अमीनो एसिड के साथ। तो इवन तो हमारे पास यहाँ पर एक एक्स्ट्रा मेम्ब्रेन भी थी और डाइजेशन भी एफिशिएंट थी, इसके बावजूद ये प्रोसेस इतना अच्छा नहीं है बिकॉज ऑफ द 2 लिमिटेशंस। द फर्स्ट वन वाज कि जो उसका टाइम टेकन था, जो कि वो टाइम ले रहा था एक साइकिल को कंप्लीट करने के लिए, फॉर 10 रेसिड्यूज उसका 24 आवर्स था समथिंग, तो वो फिर भी एक लिमिटेशन थी, वो खत्म नहीं हुई। एंड सेकेंड वन वाज के जो प्रोटीन्स थी वो अमीनेबल नहीं थी एडमिन केमिस्ट्री के लिए, क्योंकि देयर कुड बी मॉडिफिकेशंस और देयर कुड बी म्यूटेशंस के वहां पर उसके अंदर जैसे एसिटाइलेशन होगी, वहां पर एक एक्स्ट्रा एसिटाइल अटैच है, तो वो हमारे जो रिएजेंट था फिनाइल आइसोथियोसाइनेट उसके साथ अटैच नहीं करेगा। और इन लिमिटेशंस की वजह से हमें जब तक कि कोई कंप्लीटली न्यू अप्रोच नहीं आती, हम लोग इसको डीएनए की तरह सीक्वेंसिंग कर सकते
नहीं कर सकते, ठीक है। एंड
सर
जी जी
सर आप बच सकते हैं
प्लीज, हमने ब्रेक भी मतलब नहीं ली है, इसलिए काइंडली अब इसको कवर करते हैं।
नहीं, इसको खत्म करते हैं। ये असल में अब इसकी डिटेल्स ही हैं, कोई न्यू चीज इसमें नहीं है, अब ये इसकी डिटेल्स हैं। तो
और काइंडली
2 स्लाइड
डिटेल्स हैं। ओके, so we have
आपने नहीं बच किया।
Okay, so this is actually the pipeline, how this whole process will work. I have already shown you like the early pipeline of protein, protein identification using Edman degradation. So initially the protein sample, then the 2D gel electrophoresis, then the blotting, and blotting from the gel onto a PVDF membrane, and then treatment with trypsin, in situ peptidase, in situ peptides will form, and then HPLC, and then chromatogram we will get that, and Edman chemistry, and we will get the sequence, and that's it. So this is the whole procedure we can like do with this with the like we can like sequence the protein, and we can identify the protein. And towards the end of 1980s, development in mass spectrometry provides the necessary technological breakthroughs So, and despite the impact of mass spectrometry, Edmond degradation remains the most convenient method for determining the N-terminal sequence of the protein. So we are limited to the N-terminal sequence now because we have mass spectrometry. There are limitations in that as well. Therefore, Edmond degradation remains the most convenient for determining at least the N-terminal sequence of a protein. So this is more feasible to determine the N-terminal sequence of a protein, and that's it. So we don't need to go into the other protein because we have MS for that, mass spectrometry analysis for that. But at least for the N-terminus, we can go for Edmond degradation because we can do that like easily. And it is also extremely sensitive in that robust sequences can routinely be obtained from as little as 0.5 to 1 picomole of pure protein, with some groups achieving sensitivities in the several hundred of femtomoles. So this is truly sensitive because it can like detect in points of the picomole, 0.5 to 1 picomole even of if that is a pure protein. And some of groups can achieve in 100 femtomole, even smaller than the picomole. So, and that's it.
So that's mean ये smaller protein के लिए ज़्यादा feasible है.
Smaller protein के लिए yes, smaller proteins के लिए ज़्यादा feasible है. N-terminus भी determine हो सकते हैं और pure proteins के लिए भी feasible है. और अगर concentration बहुत कम है, means के pure protein बहुत कम है, sample हमारे पास बहुत कम है, picomoles में अगर हैं, तो भी like Edmond sequencing is most favorite in that case.
Okay, sir.
Okay, and that's it. Am I clear to the whole class?